So here's the thing. Most people, they hear the word coward and just instantly think weak, pathetic, useless, right? But I don't. I've met men who ran from responsibility and avoided, risk at all cost and just stayed silent when they shouldn't have, when they should have spoken up. Um, and I gotta say, I still respect them more than the loud alpha, that the dude that's puffing his chest and talking about being a leader and then folds the second reality demands any form of proof. Because there's a huge difference between being weak and being fake. Weakness is a starting point, but fakeness is a prison. I mean, the truth is, cowardice is often honesty. I mean, it's not noble, it's definitely not admirable, but it's honest. The coward knows his limits. The coward, he won't pretend he's willing to die on a hill he has no intention of fighting on and fighting for. I mean, the coward may disappoint you, yeah, but at least you know what to expect. But with fake alphas, they'll lie to themselves and everyone else, and they will promise the world, put on this veneer, they'll talk like a warrior, and when it comes time to bleed, they just disappear. So yeah, one is afraid, the other is a fraud. And I'd say fraud is worse than fear. We live in a culture nowadays that it rewards performance over authenticity. I mean, men are told to act confident and to own the room and to, you hear it all the time, fake it till you make it. And that sounds like motivation, but all it really does is it just teaches men to build an image instead of building themselves. So, I mean, you end up with a world full of men who aren't actually strong. They just look strong on camera. They of course they'll posture on podcasts and they rehearse confidence. They buy aesthetics. They flex. They pose. They shout. They dominate conversations. But if you remove their audience, they'd have nothing to stand on. They don't build character. They just build branding. At the end of the day, a coward won't do that. A coward stays small because he knows he isn't big. He doesn't chase status because he knows he hasn't earned it. He isn't admirable, but he's real. And reality is the only place that real strength can even grow from. A fake alpha will never grow. He has to protect the illusion. He has to double down. He has to even silence anyone who sees through his charade, his facade. He cannot improve because improvement would mean admitting he wasn't already what he pretended to be. We act like the worst thing a man can be is afraid. That's not true. The worst thing a man can be is dishonest about who he is. Fear is 100% human. Fraud is cancer. I mean, fear can be overcome. Fraud just calcifies. I mean, a man who says, I can't handle that, he might one day learn to handle it. But a man who says, I can handle anything while doing everything in his life to avoid being tested, he's a liability. I'd say he's dangerous. He'll drag others down with him. He'll lead men into situations he has no capacity to navigate. He will give advice he's never even lived out and taken. I mean, he will break under pressure and blame everyone but himself. And yeah, cowardice is self-preservation, but fake alpha is self-delusion. Totally delulu, man. I mean, yeah, one hides because he knows he can't handle the hit, but the other hides inside an image and prays no one swings. That's why fake alphas are obsessed with control. They talk over people. They get loud when challenged. They can't take criticism. They recruit followers to reinforce their persona. They are very good about curating an environment to avoid any form of exposure. The coward doesn't need to control anyone. He already knows he's not the man in charge. He stays in the background and avoids the fight. He may lack courage, but he still has self-awareness. You can work with self-awareness. You can't work with denial. I I mean, men think being alpha means never being afraid, and that is utter garbage. Real strength isn't about the absence of fear, it's the willingness to confront it. And I mean, that's the irony. Cowardice can be the first honest step toward genuine strength, because the man who admits he's afraid can actually ask why. He can confront the roots. He can build, he can grow from that. But the fake alpha will never do that. He's far too invested in convincing people that he already has the answers. So yeah, I mean, in my opinion, the coward can evolve. The fake alpha has to defend his mask until he dies. I mean, and we praise confidence, but most so-called confidence, it's just noise at the end of the day. I don't care how loud a man talks. I care what he does when nobody is watching and clapping and giving him praise. Like, some of the quietest men I know are the strongest. They don't talk about loyalty. They show up at 3 a.m. They walk the walk. They don't talk the talk. They don't preach sacrifice. They take the hit without posting it online. They don't claim to be protectors, but when trouble comes a knockin', everyone instinctively looks at them. They look to them. The fake alpha is nowhere to be found unless there's applause, unless there's some red carpet rolled out. The coward might not step up, but at least he never lied about it. That's something. I mean, men today are performers because being real is punished. It is. If you say you're struggling, you are labeled weak. And if you admit any uncertainty, then there's shame attached to that. And vulnerability. You get mocked if you show any vulnerability. So instead of becoming strong, men learn to pretend. And it's an adaptation. And when you pretend long enough, the mask fuses to your skin. You forget who you actually are. That's why fake alphas feel so hollow and contrived. They've spent so long playing a role, they don't even know what parts are real anymore. Cowards at least feel the discomfort of their own weakness. They don't escape it with ego. They live with the tension of who they are versus who they wish they were. That pain can be fuel. That discomfort can spark change. But fake alphas, they skip the discomfort by just manufacturing admiration. They get the reward before they earn it. They get the state assured, but without the struggle. They may even have a lot of followers, but where's the foundation? They don't have it. So they never truly develop anything. They just curate perception. I mean, they're like bodybuilders who only train chest and biceps and never legs. They're just top heavy and, off kilter, off balance, imbalanced, one crisis away from collapsing. I've been both. I've avoided hard conversations and I've stayed silent to keep the peace and walked away when I should have fought. I've also performed. I've acted more confident than I actually was. I've pretended I had answers I didn't. Talk tough because I didn't, want anyone to see I was scared. One of those versions of me had potential. The other was miserable. When I was a coward, I went to war with myself. When I was fake, I went to war with everyone else. Cowardice, it felt shameful, but fakeness felt poisonous. Like I said, cancer. I mean, cowardice says, yeah, I'm not ready. That's what cowardice says, I'm not ready. But fake alphas say, I was born ready. Throw me in there, coach. Like, one has room to grow. The other is just capped. And you can see it in how they handle responsibility. I mean, the coward will often avoid it. Yeah, the alpha will chase it, but only the version that comes with recognition. He wants the title, not the weight. He wants to procure the leadership without sacrifice, and he doesn't want accountability attached to the authority. I mean, the moment the role requires discomfort, bro's gone. He disappears. And worst of all, he abuses his position to protect his ego. Real leaders, they take responsibility, but fake alphas, they just take credit. That's it. I mean, the psychology behind cowardice and fake alpha behavior, is the same root. It's fear of pain, but they just manifest differently. The cowardice, or the coward, protects himself by disappearing, and then the fake alpha protects himself by dominating. Both are afraid, but one knows it. That self-knowledge, even if it's ugly, but it's still reality. And reality is the only foundation you can build on. If you start from lies, every layer on top will crack. Truly. I mean, we've confused volume with value. Men think if they speak with authority, people will believe them. And sadly, it often works. The internet rewards confidence over competence. And so you have a generation of these fake alphas, with perfect lighting, high production, strong tone, and zero lived experience. They sell solutions to problems they've never even solved. They talk about discipline while sleeping in. They talk about loyalty while cheating. They talk about purpose while chasing views. It's all a costume. But here's what nobody talks about. Fake alphas are more insecure than cowards. At least the coward isn't trying to impress you. The fake alpha is terrified of being seen as average. He is addicted to validation. He will do anything to appear strong. He can't afford honesty. The coward is afraid of the world. The fake alpha is afraid of himself. And that's why I respect the cowards more. Because even if a coward hides, he's still living in reality, man. He knows he's not ready. He knows the danger is real. He knows there's a gap between who he is and who he wants to be. The gap is very painful, but it's real. And reality is the birthplace of growth. The fake alpha believes the lie so deeply that his ego, he sees no gap. No gap. He thinks he's already complete. And a man who thinks he's complete will never change. You know who I really respect? The man who used to be a coward but didn't stay one. The man who felt the fear and didn't pretend it wasn't there. He addressed it. He started small. He failed. He tried again and again and again. He built quiet courage over time. Not performative courage, real courage. The kind that doesn't need to be seen by anyone. And then over time, he surpassed every fake alpha who was, too busy rehearsing toughness online. Real strength is built, it's not branded. Most of this alpha content just tries to motivate men by shaming weakness. That's stupid. Shame doesn't make men stronger, it just forces them to hide their struggles. And if they have to do that, if they have to hide their struggles, they will never grow past them. I am not interested in pretending we're all warriors. I'm interested in men being honest about what they're afraid of and then doing something about it. That is the only way courage is formed. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement despite fear. But to move despite fear, you first have to admit the fear exists. And that's why the coward is actually one step closer to real strength than the fake alpha. He has already admitted the fear. He just hasn't moved yet. The fake alpha hasn't even reached step one. He's still lying to himself. And here's a harsh truth. Most men are not alphas. They aren't. Most men aren't leaders either. Or warriors. And that's okay. Not everyone needs to be the tip of the spear. But we all need to be honest about where we stand. Because a weak man pretending to be strong is dangerous. A weak man who knows he's weak can become useful. You can build a team out of honest men with different strengths. You cannot build anything solid out of insecure performers. Now, I don't respect cowardice as a destination. I respect it as an honest starting point. I respect the man who can say, I'm scared, way more than the man that says, I fear nothing, while trembling inside, but just doesn't let anyone know. I respect the man who steps back because he knows he'll fail more than the man who steps forward to get attention and puts everyone at risk. I respect the man who can stay home rather than the man who just drags others into battles he won't actually fight. I mean, you don't want to go into battle with some guy that acts like he's all that, and then the second that you need to rely on him for something, he bails, right? At least the coward didn't show up in the first place to give you that false sense of security, right? We've all been there. We all know that one guy. He's like Benny from The Mummy, if you've ever watched that. He's like, it's better to be at the right hand of the devil than in his path. I mean, that dude's a real weasel. But yeah, I mean, men love to talk about loyalty. Loyalty isn't shown in easy times. That's just a fact. Loyalty is proven in under pressure. Fake alphas, they talk about brotherhood all the time, but they abandon you when it costs them anything. Cowards may run, but at least they don't pretend they won't. Real men, they weigh the cost. They don't promise lightly, and when they say, I'll be there, they are. Even if they're afraid, especially if they're afraid. There is more integrity in fear than in false strength. There is more future in meek honesty than arrogant performance. Fake alphas, man, they age like milk. The older they get, the more obvious the fraud becomes. The more it stanks. They have no depth, no legacy, no internal peace, just noise. Just a bunch of noise. Cowards can change. Cowards can change. Many of the strongest men I know started as cowards. They didn't skip the fear like the alphas skip work day or leg day. They walked through it. They walked through the fire, and that journey built substance over time. It compounded. And at the end of the day, the world doesn't need more performers. We don't need more men pretending to be lions, okay? We need men who are grounded in reality. Men who know when to lead and when to follow. Men who don't need attention to feel valuable. Men who can say, I'm not ready, but also I don't want to stay here forever. We need men who don't confuse volume for strength. Men who'd rather be real than impressive. So yes, I respect cowards more than fake alphas. Not because cowardice is noble, but because honesty is. At least the coward isn't lying to himself. At least the coward isn't manipulating others. He's not selling false hope. He isn't pretending he's a leader while hiding from responsibility. The cowards fear visibility. And the coward's fear is visible. That's what I'm trying to say. The coward's fear is visible, and what is visible can be addressed. The fake alpha hides behind admiration, and what is hidden cannot heal. It cannot develop and change. I mean, okay, so in closing, after saying all that, if you see yourself in this, dude, don't just chill. You're fine, okay? This isn't an attack, all right? This is a mirror. I'm holding up a mirror, okay? If you're a coward, good. You're honest, okay? You're self-aware. Thank God. Now, decide if you want to stay there, okay? You got to make that decision. Do you want to stay there or do you want to evolve, okay? Get past it. And then if you're a fake alpha listening to this, watching this, you got a hard road, man. You got a harder road. You got a harder road than the coward, because you have to kill your image before you can find your core, okay? Before you can find your footing. You have to destroy your persona to uncover who you really are. And here's the thing, most men won't do that. They'd rather live as kings of illusion than servants of truth. But here's the thing, the man who starts afraid, refuses to perform, confronts his own limitations, builds in silence, and emerges with real strength, he becomes the kind of man even cowards will follow. And even alphas will respect. Truly. Truly. Not because he claimed power, but because he became it. Okay? All right. That's all.